Hi, it's Paulie here. So over the last little while I've been doing some game design, creating a new role-playing game, thinking very much about some of the issues that have been coming up as I've been reviewing. Now, long ago I did a role-playing game called Lace and Steel back in the 80s, and it broke a lot of new ground. This was a Three Musketeers, kind of English Civil War-y fantasy game that had this whole background to it that was full of romance and courtly love and so on. So it had a game system that simulated love and antipathy and loyalty, and it had a card-based combat system which worked for dueling combat but also was used for sorceress duels, and also used for battles of repartee where you sort of beat each other about the head with your ready wits. So it broke a lot of new ground because games are entirely about combat, but this one was trying to establish emotional simulation. And 40 years have gone by and almost nothing has been done on that level of role-playing games still. So I want to do a worthy successor to Lace and Steel. But the other thing is, the game in many of these games hasn't been coming through. We've generally got things, we've got task difficulties in your roll dice, you've got to beat it. And certainly have the role-playing decisions, do I do this or not, do I take this risk or not? But in the game itself, it doesn't have risk and reward. It doesn't have the things that actually make a game a game. So let's get the gamesmanship back into the game. And this will also allow things to go from just a straight roll of dice or whatever to telling a little bit more of a story as you do activities. So that's what I've been working on. I'm doing a game called Seelie. It's based in the Seelie realm. The characters are Fae, with these magical creatures that live on one of many worlds. They see themselves as the superior beings. They can travel from world to world, but if they go into mortal worlds, they have a chance of permanently dying. Whereas in the Seelie world, if they are very well connected with the world around them, they can be reborn as they die. But these far-off worlds have many interesting things to offer and many amazing magics to find. So it's a game of exploration, but it's a courtly intrigue game. Instead of basing this on Shakespeare or Ye Fairy Queen, this one, the overall background feel of it is taken from Louis XIV's Versailles, from the court of Charles II, that very end of the 17th century, full-bottomed wigs, glorious lace cuffs, the grand courts, the high Baroque courts, where everything is beautiful and everything is planned and everything is systemized. And so it's got this whole feel to it of these elaborate court setups with their intrigue and their flirtation. And being Fae, of course, they have magic and they have masks, and there is some leads I've taken from some other games. So there was a game long ago called En Garde, which I have reviewed. That was a Three Musketeers game where you climbed the greasy pole. That was quite a nice idea of trying to get your way up the different social ranks. This is a courtly game, so there are some elements of this which include some tips of the hat to good old En Garde, where they were trying to get into different regiments and things like this, and it would gain them money and employment and so on. In this, we are often looking for a thing called glamour. Glamour is not just experience, but it is connections to powerful magical things and to reputation. So doing a heroic thing is good. Doing a heroic thing that the king witnesses, glamour. Being in a regiment is good. Being in a regiment that achieves a mighty thing in battle, glamour. Being in the king's or the queen's personal guard, glamour. And you spend this for things. Another thing that I've done is you are persuaded by the system to buy into the world. There are two things that you're keeping track of. Body, which is how physically robust you are as you take damage or go marching on terrible campaigns, and whether your body wears down. And spirit, when you're unlucky in love, if you lose in repartee, if you end up doing badly in the social round, your spirit wears down, but you also use spirit for casting spells, for enchanting the things around you, because these people enchant the lands, which is where you get that wonderful medieval idea of, the king is the land, and if the king is ill, the land is ill. Yeah, definitely in this case, but in this it's all of these beings enchant the things around you. You enchant your mount, you enchant your blade, you can enchant your relationships to make them stronger. But at the end of each year you recalculate these, and the strength of your body and spirit depend on how you are connected to the world around you. Your passions are very important, your loves, your hates, the loyalties you have, the feuds you have, the flirtations you've had, the lovers that you've connected with. These are all vital to making your body and your spirit. So the game brings you into buying into the world through the numbers. Guess I've been doing this for a while. But the thing I've loved is coming up with a card-based system that runs the entire game. Now, part of this is done to try and emulate that courtly feel. These are games of whist. We're not playing mere dice, we're doing cards. But also, it brings the gamesmanship into the game. So I want to show you exactly how that works. Okay, so I'm going to show you with my genuine Tenchi Mayo cards, because this is what I do. So we have an ordinary 52 card deck, and I have removed the jokers. I hope I've removed the jokers. If not, we'll remove them if they show up. Now, as I've explained before, drawing cards is not the same randomization as a rolling dice, because each dice roll is uniquely random. Drawing cards leaves less of the same number and suit in the deck. It is a subtle difference, and it is a real difference. So we have 3 layers. A simple skill test. Mr. Snoots has decided his character just simply wants to try and perform a simple action. Can they throw that rope to the top of the battlements? We have a task number. Now, Schnoots will have some kind of skill. In this case, it would be an athletics skill. There's also a governing characteristic that controls this. Now, this game uses very different characteristics. We have wit, we have subtlety, we have sociability, we have these kind of qualities, but not strength and agility and things like that, the traditional things. Those are traits that you can take. We're more interested in how smart, how clever, how subtle, how magical, how witty, how charismatic you are in this. But Schnoots, you can pick whichever. So Schnoots has decided that this is going to be wit, because he has to be fairly clever to pick the right spot, and he has 2 skill. So let's say he has 3 wit, and let's say he has 2 skill, 5. If he draws a 5 or less, he gets a free redraw if he wishes it. We are drawing a card. We have a task difficulty that we're trying to get that number or higher. In this case, let us say 8. So if the final card draw is equal to or higher than that number, we have a success. Aces, by the way, are a 1 in value. Jacks are 11, queens are 12, kings are 13. But he does have that redraw from his skill if he wishes to take it. However, when he draws a card, he may decide to sit with it or redraw it. But if the card that he redraws is equal to or less than the previous card, he can draw no more. So he's got to make that decision. In a simple test like this, that is not too hard a decision. It's just a fail. So he's rolled an 8, he's drawn an 8, he succeeds. Let's try it slightly more complex. Let's see what we get. Tries again. This time he draws a 7. That is not enough. If he'd drawn a 1 to 5, his skill would let him get a free redraw. Okay. Well, at the moment he's failing. Schnoots has decided he's going to keep pushing and see how he does. 2. Okay, that's a fail. But he has drawn less than his skill plus characteristic. Once only he gets a redraw. So something failed, but he's going to give it another shot. 7. Okay. It hasn't exceeded his initial draw there, because this is a discard. This doesn't remain as a pile. So it's still a failure, Schnoots. We can keep going. We can try this again. Simple test. Ooh, too many 7s. So, simple test. Didn't take the jokes out. There we go. 4. Okay. He's got a free redraw for that, which he will do. 5. Ah, he's got a free redraw for that because it's less than his skill. Jack, which is definitely a success. So, in our story here, he's given this a bit of a try. He's pushed it due to his skill, like it didn't hook on the first couple of times, and whee, up it went. That is a simple skill test. Now, each test or each scene, we can reshuffle the cards. Okay, so first off, I'll show you a contested draw. So, we have these two guys. Let us say Schnoots is trying to sneak his way past a palace guard to steal into a lady's chambers and do a flirtation. Here is the guard. Let's say they've both got the same general skill level for the purposes of this exercise. So, Snoots is going to try and sneak past on his wits, which will be 3, and he's got, say, 2 stealth. This guy, he's going to be watching, but he's going to be watching with his passion because he is essentially, he's a dedicated guard. But he's got 2 perception skill because he's watching. Now, so we'll say they both total up to 5. Now, one of them does have to draw first. Normally this is the person who has a higher skill. They have a skill draw. It comes down to characteristics. We won't bother with that. The final thing is who has the most expensive shoes. Well, this guy's got 4 feet and this guy's got a bunch more. Let's say he spent more on his shoes. So, he decides this guy is going to draw first. So, little elephant draws a card. Excellent draw. So, that is a jack. That's worth 11 points. He's going to sit on that. This guy here now has basically to beat a jack, which is pretty unlikely. He draws a 3. It's less than his skill of 5 though. So, if he wanted to, he could use his skill to redraw, but he's going to just keep pushing it without having to do that, because that's crap. He's very unlikely to draw a 1 or a 2. Except he draws a 2. So that is less than his skill, so he does get 1 free shot to redraw this thing based on his skill. We'll just shuffle that to make sure these aren't mysteriously in some kind of order. This is his last chance. 5. Right. He can't redraw that one because he's already drawn for his skill. But it is... sorry, that's a discard. It is higher than his initial draw of 3. He can keep pushing it. He's going to keep pushing it because he's sure he can get higher than a 5. 6. He's creeping up there. He's going to keep pushing it. He's not sitting with that. He's going to spot this guy. He's walking up and down. He can hear something moving around out there, but he's not sure. 8. Now, as any card player will tell you, 8's probably a pretty good thing to sit with, but he has to beat this because he chose to let this guy draw first. Queen is his final draw, so he has in fact beaten this. It's taken him a while. So he spotted this guy. We can redo this just to show you. It's that skill redraw and that pushing as to whether you're sitting on what you've got. In a normal protracted thing, it's actually a relatively simple choice, as I've shown you. Exactly the same. Schnoots draws a 5. He could redraw that for his skill, but he doesn't have to. He's going to redraw it just because he feels he'll get higher than a 5 on a random draw. Which he does. A king. A black king. Sit! He's not drawing anything more. This guy here now has a king to beat. A 2. He's going to keep drawing. Can definitely beat a 2. 9. He has to keep drawing because he's got to beat that king. 4. Right, so less than the damn 9, so it would normally be a flop, but it is less than his skill, so he does have the opportunity now to redraw once for his skill. That becomes a discard. He has to beat that 9. 3. He does not. So this time he has to sit with that. He can't change it. This time he's looked back and forth. There's been some false starts. This guy's crept through, waited for his moment, and then whoa, just picked the gap and gone for it. So simple decisions, but decisions. Do I push it? Do I sit with what I've got? Okay, Now let's look at a protracted contest. See, each of these levels builds up. We've had that simple test, now we've got the contest, now we've got the protracted contest. Now, protracted contest is something over time that's more than really just kind of one brief thing. It could be a flirtation where multiple people, you can have any number of people in these, by the way, you could have 4 or 5 people all in the same contest. You can have people assisting who give in a bonus, but we'll just keep it simple between these two. So it could be negotiating for a position, trying to convince someone that you're the guy for the job as opposed to the other one. But it can also be duels, it can be repartee, trying to basically squish someone down with your ready wit. But let's say, these two guys decide to fight. So, again, let us give them equivalent skill to each other. Let's say, this guy, he's very clever, so he's going to use his wits, and we'll give him like a, let's boost him up. Let's give him like a skill of 3. And this guy, he's passionate, still, and we'll give him a skill of 3. But they both turn out to a 6. So a 6 or less is what they can redraw the cards on for their skills. But that skill number is important because each of you gets 1 skill card per level of your actual skill. 1, 2, 3 for this guy. 1, 2, 3 for this guy. Now, these are used in the skill contest. When it is your go, what you can do is you can discard one of your cards to get yourself a free redraw. So you just take that card, put it away, and you can draw a new one if you don't like the card you've drawn. You can also discard a card to make the other guy redraw a court card. Jack, Queen, King. Or you can replace a card that you have drawn with one of these cards, provided they're the same colour, black or red. So something like a Jack's quite useful for that. This guy's just got shrapnel, 638, so not as useful for that. But these are your little strategies. Again, they're deciding who goes first. We're going to let this guy go first for once, because he's fun. Right, so, ting ting, they square off with the mighty rapiers. He draws a 7. Alright, he doesn't like 7, he's going to keep drawing. King, brilliant. He's going to sit with that. However, this guy doesn't like that, so he says, this is a crap card. I'm going to discard one of my skill cards to make you redraw that card. It's a court card. He's just going to grumble. So this is discarded away. He's still got to beat a 7. 2, he has not beaten a 7, so that would normally be a flub, but he could redraw it because of his skill, or he could discard one of these. At the moment, he says, I'm going to keep onto these cards. I am going to redraw due to my skill. Discard that. We're looking for a 7 or higher. He's got a 9. He stands at a 9 at the moment. That's a fairly good card. He's going to be conservative, and he's going to sit with that. This guy now has to draw a card. He comes out with a 6. Well, he's got that 9 to beat, so he's just going to keep on drawing. 10! He's already beaten this guy. He could just sit there and do a little minor ting. But what he decides to do is, I'm going to replace that 10 with my Jack to do even more damage. Alright, this guy's got more skill cards. He says, right, I'm going to discard this piece of shrapnel and make you redraw that card. Oh, damn your moxie, sir. 7. He can keep drawing because it's higher, but it's lower than the 9. So we've had some thrust and parry and riposte here. He's going to keep drawing now. King. Excellent. He's just going to sit. He can't make him redraw a card because he's already played offensively once during this guy's turn. He can't interfere with it anymore. So that's where this little impasse has finished. So what we've got is King is 13 points. We subtract the defensive card of 9 points. So ding, it'd be a minor wound on this guy. Now, if your opponent takes half damage, you gain more of these cards because you're gaining an advantage. So you gain more of these skill cards. At the moment, we'll give most of these guys will have like about a dozen hit points. So We pick these up. This guy's injured, but he's got more cards left. We're back to the round. Draws a queen. I'm sitting. All right, this guy says, I'm going to make you redraw it. Discard that. Discard that. All right. Ace. Bugger. He's going to keep drawing because, of course, you can beat a 1. Well, he beats with a 2. Hell, I'm going to keep going, he says. I've got to do better than a 2. He doesn't. He gets an ace again. Ooh. So, it is, however, less than his skill. So he's going to use his skill to discard that. I'm going to shuffle these in case I've accidentally come up with some kind of weird sequence. 3. Building up slowly. Jack. Excellent. He's going to sit with that. He has no cards left, so he can't interfere. His turn to draw. Ace. Terrible. He's going to keep drawing though. 10. 10's normally good, but he's got that jack to beat. So he's going to keep drawing. 9. Alright, it's higher than his skill, so he can't discard it because of his skill. He has to stop drawing because it's less than the previous card. That's where he sat. So, Jack is 10. So now this guy's taken 2. So, ding ding! Honours are kind of almost even here. We don't reshuffle a deck yet, by the way. So if anyone's card counting, good luck. This guy's still going. 10. Oh, what the hell? He's feeling lucky today. He's going to keep pushing it. 7. All right. Ooh, actually, he can't redraw it because of his skill. It's too high. And but what he can do is he's going to say, I'm going to discard this piece of shrapnel here, and I'm going to take a free redraw. It's a 2. Okay, he's screwed. He got greedy. He has to sit. Oh, hang on. No, it's his skill. He can discard that for his skill. 4. Still screwed. All right. He can do no more. This guy now draws. 8. Well, he's already beaten him. So he says, haha, I'm going to sit on that. This guy says, all right, so I'm going to discard this card and make you redraw that. All right. He redraws that. A 5. All right. Lower than his skill, though. So he's going to say, all right, I'm going to use my skill to get my single redraw. A jack. All right. This time the elephant is completely screwed. The jack's going to be 11 points. Minus 4 is 7 damage. 11 damage. This guy's like 1 body point left. This would give this guy cards and some, but he's going to throw in the towel at that point. At the end of any given round, you can attempt to surrender, you can attempt to flee, all these sorts of things. If this is a duel, you just say, Leona, she is satisfied. So it goes back and forth, and you've got this actual decisions to make. Am I using my skill to redraw this one? Am I burning my cards? And as I've said, you can use this this is for the repartee, this is for flirtation. You can have multiple people involved. So let's do a little protracted contest. So we've got 3 guys. Let's say they are all vying for the fair hand of a lady. And let's say the sequence has determined that they're going to be playing cards 1, 2, 3, which is why we've sat them this way. Now, you can only have your hand interfered with once, and you can only interfere with your own hand once. So he would get to decide if he's interfering with this guy's hand, and if he passes, then it's this guy. First off, we'll give them all 3 skill cards. So we've got an 8, we've got a king, and we've got a 10, say. This guy, we're getting a queen, and we're getting a 6, and what else are we getting? Ooh, another queen, and we're going to need 2, and a 4, and an 8. Alright, so we've got a couple of queens have come out, which is woohoo! Unsurprising. So this guy says, all right, he draws a 9. It's higher than his skill. He can't redraw that. 9's kind of disappointingly middling. He'll just say, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to keep drawing. A 6. All right. Well, that's lower. However, we've given these guys like 6 skill. So he says, all right, I'm going to discard that due to my skill. I'm going to keep drawing. A 7. All right. So now he says, normally that would be a sit, but he says, I am going to discard this 2 to allow me to discard this card. And draw again. This time he gets a king. I'm sitting. quoth he. It's up to this guy first to decide if he's going to interfere with that hand now. He says, I will interfere with it. I'm going to discard this skill card to make you discard that. Bastich! Alright, he's going to draw a new card. It's a queen! Huzzah! He's sitting with that. This hand has already had someone step in and interfere with it, so he can't do it again, and he can't decide to. He's just sitting. Don't! Alright, you've got to beat a queen, you smartass. Ace, terrible, but he can just keep going. A 4. Still going to keep building that hand. A 7. Ooh, he's still going. Ooh, climb every mountain for nearly. Alright. Lower than his skill. He says, I'm going to discard that. I'm going to give it another shot. Yahoo! It's a jack. However, jack doesn't beat a queen, so this guy's in a bit of a quandary. However, what he said is, why don't I replace this with a card there? So at least I'm getting a draw out of it. So that's what he does. However, this guy says, it shall never stand. I'm going to just discard this 8 and make you discard that card. Damn. He's got to keep drawing. A 3. Alright, he's already done his skill redraw. It's lower. That's it. The scorpion is basically, he knew her favourite roses were in bloom and he stepped in and beaten him. Now, he gets to draw. An ace. Anyone can do better than ace, he says. And then proves he's completely wrong. Alright, it's less than his skill though. So he's going to discard that. He's going to use his skill draw. An 8. Still not beating that queen. Right, he's going to keep drawing. Climb every mountain. A 10. Oh my god. He's going to try and do something clever. He's going to say, alright, I'm going to use this. I'm going to replace this red 10 with this red king. Now, this guy's got 2 cards, and he says, no you're not. I'm going to expend my 4 and make you discard that court card. Swine. Alright, so now he's still drawing. Trying to beat an 8. 7. Right, he does not beat an 8. He's already done his skill draws. He's interfered with his own thing. So, the end of this round, this guy is triumphant. Overall damage that we've done, that's 12 minus 7 would be 5 points. This would be like a fairly serious loss. If these guys had like 10 body points, he could pour it on one of these guys and essentially give himself an extra skill card, so that he's now got advantage. And yeah, so that is how it plays with multiple people. You can do other things too. You could have someone assisting, and what that does is the assistance gets you an extra skill card to represent the fact that you've got someone. Psst, what? She really likes lilies. You can do that also obviously in combat, where you can be facing off a whole bunch of, a whole swarm of low skilled opponents. So you might end up with like a whole bunch of skill cards yourself, because you're like D'Artagnan and you've got 4 of these things. This guy's only got like 2 cards, but his buddy gives him 1 card for assisting. He's standing up the back and throwing rocks. He's jumping around and occasionally trying to stab you. So that would be how you do the old D'Artagnan versus a horde of poorer swordsmen sort of thing. So it's actually a pretty flexible damn system. It's way simpler than it looks, and it's got those decisions. Do I keep pushing the draw? Do I interfere with this, or do I let it sit? Am I going to let him go first, or am I going to go first? So that's the system. That's what I've been working on. And that is the series of core ideas for the new role-playing game, Seelie, that I should have coming out real soon. Okay, well, hope you enjoy it when it arrives. Thank you, team.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, bye.